Hi, good evening to Music in Bloom. Welcome. Hot day here in Jersey, New Jersey, but better than winter. Thanks so much for coming. We're going to start with our old favorite. There's so many things you could have done instead of coming here for Facebook Live. Could have read a book or played a game, take a walk or go for a drive. You could have cooked a meal from a new recipe. Forget all about me, but you showed up for me, and I like it. There's 100 places you could have gone, say you just lost track of time. Could have or wrote a song, watched some Netflix, Hulu, or Prime. You could have done a webinar or another Zoom. Text your apology, but you showed up for me. Yes, and I like it. Showed up for me, and I like it. Hey, Ellen, hi. Pam, I like it too. Yay. Thank you guys for coming. I got a special guest tonight. I didn't even advertise it because I thought about it too late. But I'm doing a couple of songs for Father's Day, one day late. And I just got into that kind of head of wishing I had more Father's Day songs. And then a very dear friend of mine who happened to have one, I'm going to be bringing him up a little bit later. I came across this picture, which I had on Facebook, of my father and I dancing, because my father was a good dancer and he did love to dance. And he got me into piano with this song. And that's the song that started my career. My father did that. Big band, he loved his big band music, was crazy about Peggy Lee, and got me into dancing. I used to stand on his toes and dance, and I just sort of got into this head, and I fell in love once again. I revived with this song, which I really always loved. It's called Dance with My Father. It's written by Richard Marx, and he always surprises me because he writes a lot of rock songs, but he can really write some very sweet songs as well. And Luther Vandross, who sang the song. Back when I was a child, before life removed all innocence, my father would lift me high and dance with my mom and me, and then spin me around till I fell asleep. Then up the stairs he would carry me, and I knew for sure I was loved. If I could get another chance, another walk, another dance with him, I'd play a song that would never end. Oh, I love to dance with my father again. When Mom and I would disagree, to get my way I would run from her to him. He'd make me laugh just to comfort me, then finally make me do just what my mama said. Later that night I was asleep. He left $1 under my sheet. I never dreamed how soon he'd be gone from me. If I could steal one final glance, final step, one final dance with him, I'd play a song that would never end. Now I love, love, love to dance with my father again. Sometimes I'd listen outside his door, and I'd hear my father breathe. I prayed for him even more than me. I prayed for him even more than me. I know I'm praying for much too much, but could you send back the first man I loved? No, you don't do it usually, but dear Lord, I'm dying to dance with my father again. Every night I fall asleep, this is all I ever dream. Pretty song. Pretty song. Let me say hey. Hi, Susan. How you doing? Thank you guys for coming. Thank you so much. Yeah, I wanted to tell you all that I have a couple of podcasts coming up, and I'm actually in a wonderful group called Amplify, where indie musicians are learning how to market themselves and make money from their craft and their passion and their love. And a couple of the guests that are here tonight, they don't know it, but they're going to be on my podcast soon. Not saying any names, but the initials are SL. Okay. Anyway, I did interview Judy Cornejo Breely. She's going to be on the podcast next Monday. And also Emma Back, who is a unique singer, a unique musician, and she is offering a 5-day challenge for her vocal academy. So both of those interviews are really good. I hope you give a listen on the site. And if you're not registered, please do. Don't make me have to go look for the whole thing over here. But let me see. It is there. If you're not registered, do it. Okay? Thank you. This whole thing feels so weird to me. I'm going to just go back to the simplicity of my name. Good. So this is going to be my last show for the summer. Maybe I'll do a show. I'm not sure. But I'm going to take a break and kind of recharge, refresh myself. Just write some new music, get some new materials, get focused again like I need to be in order to do this kind of work. Now, this song that I'm going to sing now is, I went to Tubac, Arizona to write historical musicals. It was what do they call it? I forget what they call it, but I went on to write historical musicals with the Montessori School out there. Beautiful little historical town, artistic town, original adobe houses, one of the oldest towns in America. And my friend had written a book off of the history, and I put together one of the stories, and we performed it in the Presidio, which had this old schoolhouse, I think 1885, something like that. We had a great time. I learned so much about Tubac history that if I'm ever on Jeopardy and that's the topic, I'm going to do very well. This song happened to be, this was a time where people had to fake bravery even if they didn't feel it. And that's parents and children both. So I came up with this song when they were under attack. And I will say the original school in Tubac had children who were gypsies, Native Americans, Germans, English, all nationalities that all came together for this one school teacher who had to figure out how she was going to teach them. What do? You use music. But this particular song was when they felt like they were in danger and they were all trying to be brave. And it's sung by a little girl. My mother never cries. She works from morn to night and says, don't worry, but I still do. My father never lies. He says he's always right. He says, don't worry, but I still do. I know that grown-ups try to hide things to convince that they are wrong. But every time they say those words, we know something's wrong. I wish I didn't feel afraid to be afraid. I need to be braver to get me through. You say don't worry, but I still do. It's true that grown-ups often say things to convince that all is well. Well, it's a secret that we keep hidden, so please don't tell. I wish I didn't feel afraid to be afraid. Need to be braver to get us through. When you say don't worry, I'll be strong for you. And now, when I was just doing that song, I was thinking how we go through, those of us who are older, we go through this exchange with our parents where they do take care of everything. They're always on. My father always did all the driving. He always knew what to do. And then we gradually start to change positions. And that's what the end of that song is about. Then I'll be strong for you. Then I'll take the wheel. I'll do the driving there. So a little melancholy, but you know, that's just the mood of the night. What can I say? So as I said, I have a special guest tonight. Susan, you're going to appreciate this because this is a dear friend of ours. Rob Sill is coming up. I'm not even going to say anything. We're just going to bring him in and start talking. Oh.
Hi, Charmin.
How are you? So good to see you.
It's great to see you. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Fantastic.
You let me know, guys.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, Pam says melancholy is wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
it can be. I don't know. Is that the word melancholy, pensive, reflective?
It was a great song, very thoughtful. I love the sentiment, don't worry, I'll be strong for you. That's beautiful.
it's the exchange that
Yeah.
happens. You know what I mean. One day I was driving with my dad, and he wasn't driving right.
Mm.
We used to go out to Long Island because he was taking care of my godfather, whatever. And I said, "What's going on, Dad?" He goes, "Oh, this macular degeneration is starting to catch up with me." I said, "Pull the car over, please," because he never would ask for help. But
Of
you
course
know,
not.
no, we don't ask for
Not going to
help.
ask for help. No.
Straight ahead. So Rob, how are you?
I am great, and I'm thrilled to be here, and I love your music. It's your chord progressions are so tasteful, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. So
Thank
I'm
you.
good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and I love this whole idea of music in bloom, and I consider myself a late bloomer, for sure. So I always wanted to write songs, but I never really wrote like a song that was decent until I was like in my mid 30s. You know,
Now you live down in Nashville. Have you
I'm
always lived down there?
I've been in Nashville since I was in my 20s. So we moved here at 85. And I moved here basically to get in the music industry. So I'm from Maryland,
Okay.
and my wife is from Delaware. And
Hmm.
we went to college there. When we got out, we formed a little music duo. We had a two-piece, and she plays keyboards and sings, and she's great. And she would do bass with her left hand. I play guitar, and we had a drum machine.
Uh-huh.
And we were a two-piece, and that's what we did
Yeah.
right out of college, and we had the best time, man. So we played all over the East Coast. I'm East Coast, the Eastern, Ocean City,
Yeah.
Maryland, Rehoboth
Oh
Beach,
yeah. I
Delaware,
worked there.
all on the
Yeah, I
Chesapeake
worked there.
Bay,
Yeah.
Assateague. So we were kind
Yeah.
of for a short season, we're kind of big fish in a small pond kind of thing. And then we kind of got tired pretty quickly of kind of like the bar life, playing music to sell drinks, And then I
And you were
decided,
doing, I don't mean to, I just want to know
no,
what
go
kind
ahead.
of
Yeah.
music you were doing. Was it country or?
Variety, always top
Okay.
40 covers, So
Yeah.
Eddie Rabbit and Crystal Gale and Kenny Rogers
Yeah.
and
Island in the
yeah,
stream.
we did Islands in the Stream and I Love a Rainy Night and and Linda
Yeah.
Ronstadt
It
and
was good stuff. It was good stuff.
oh,
Yeah.
great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would do Satin Doll and Misty, but I was not a jazzer like you. I was really, I'm country rock kind of guy, basically.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I kind of really decided I was always interested in recording. And so, like, from early on, man, I would take two cassette recorders and I would record on one and then I'd overdub on the other one, record into another cassette. And then I bought a 4-track reel to
Well,
reel that was, a 4-track, wow, 1/4-inch tape. And then I got an 8-track
yeah.
and then anyway, moved to Nashville and I went to school to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And my plan was to get in the music industry. I eventually started a jingle music production company doing music for advertising,
Mm-hmm.
and we became one of the more, I guess, successful jingle companies in the 1990s, late 80s,
Mm-hmm.
90s, and early 2000s. So I did stuff for like Walmart and Nike, Pizza Hut.
Nice.
Crack. I
Yeah.
did New York City ad agencies out of New York, out of Chicago, St. Louis, all over the country,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And yeah, that was a great gig, man. It's great work if you can get it.
Oh, then you got it. Yeah. Sounds like you were very successful with it. So
We
also you must have been very good at it too.
Well, you surround yourself with good people. So Nashville is like, Music City to the universe, and so there's a lot of great talent.
Uh-huh.
And that was the thing I figured was that what it needed was more people to kind of be exporters of the talent. So, at that time, I guess I kind of had the chutzpah, to go to ad agencies and market, and try to sell what we were doing. And I had some phenomenal guys who were songwriters and jingle writers, and of course the talent base here is you can do anything. Like we could literally do anything, So whether it was an orchestral piece or jazz or big band or country, of course, we could.
Yeah.
There's such diversity here. So yeah, it was a great run. I'm a studio nerd, man. I love just tweaking on the sounds and
Yeah.
the psychology of producing vocalist. You know, I love all that stuff.
Well, am I wrong? You did win an award, didn't you? A Grammy or something? Did you? I apologize for not
Not a
knowing.
Grammy, but in the advertising industry, we won a bunch of awards. So we
Right.
were like this thing called the Nashville Advertising Diamond Award. So we won like that 3 years in a row. There's a thing called the One Show in New York City. We won
Uh-huh.
something for that. I mean, in the advertising industry, we won a bunch of awards. Some
Yeah.
mid-level, I would call. Yeah.
Okay. So you're not doing that anymore. How'd that happen?
Well, so that is a good question and good story. So the main thing I do nowadays is Christian praise and worship music. That's been my calling for the last 15 years
Yeah.
or so. Or basically, I had an encounter with God, and I was a Christian most of my life, and that's a whole nother story. I was a prodigal for a while. I was into like drinking and drugs and all that stuff, and then I came back to God, through
Yeah.
Jesus, and then it's been a long evolution, but I kind of had this encounter where that's where I started writing the good songs, were the praise and worship songs. So that was like when I was in my late 30s. I was
Yeah.
very involved with our teenagers at our church, our youth group, and I was writing songs for them. And that opened up a whole bunch of doors. I just had this encounter with God. I was just in a really dry place, and I just was just praying. I'm like, God, I need a revival, and I would just open up the Bible, man, and start making up songs. And I'd open up the hymnal, and if I didn't know how the song went, I would make up my own, melody. And if the English was all old fashioned, I would change it. And anyway, I started writing a bunch of songs, and a bunch of them got published by now they're the world's largest publisher now. Capitol is who they've been bought by, but it was EMI or something like that at the time. But yeah, and so anyway, the songwriting of writing worship songs really opened up doors for me to lead worship, and then I started getting invited to go on missions trips where I would teach on songwriting and theology, I guess, of worship leading, and so I've been oh gosh, maybe 30 something different countries, a lot in Eastern Europe, Romania, Hungary, Ukraine. I
Wow.
go to Ukraine a lot.
Great.
And
Excuse me, do you go alone or with a group? Do you go with your wife?
I have done many missions trips with my wife. She's very gifted at children's music and children's school of worship. She would teach that, and but usually I'm partnered with some kind of organization. So when I go to Ukraine, I teach that there's a seminary there, and I'll teach there, and different missions organizations. So I'm a content provider, I guess you could say. And it's awesome. I mean, really, it's a lot of fun. And until the COVID thing happened, I was not out all the time, but quite a bit. And it's, you pay your own way. So there's no money in this.
Yeah. Yesterday a friend of mine was giving a concert. He's a very talented guitarist and a chromatic harmonica player.
Yeah.
And he sings, he does it all at the same time. And he had a hat on that looked like a little cap, but it's like a bowl. So, you can just take it off, pass it around,
Oh,
put the money in the packet, and put the hat back on your head.
that sounds very gypsy, actually, man.
Yeah. I said, well, that's a really good idea. And then he said, and if you get thirsty, you can go get water too, and you can use it to drink. So, but that's what we do, right?
Wow.
We pass the hat, yeah. So, and now I understand you're working on your doctorate.
Yeah. So it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. So so what started everything for me in terms of transitioning really out of music industry into ministry was I was teaching on songwriting, and then I was leading worship, and I was always leading worship with the teenagers at our church, but then I became invited to lead at the big church, which at that time was a pretty big church, 3,000 people on Music Row and all kinds of music professionals, and it was actually quite intimidating at first, but that's a whole nother story, is how to get over yourself for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was teaching on worship leading, and I really felt the conviction. The Lord's like, dude, if you're going to talk about this stuff, you really ought to know what you're talking about. So I went back to school and I got a master's degree in worship, theology of worship, and then in 2019. I had another kind of amazing encounter, and this was in Austria. I had been in Czech Republic teaching a bunch of teenagers at this. You would like this. This event in Czech Republic was called Fusion, and it's they do youth choirs, and they would put these youth choirs like with a rock band, and they're doing like, like 70s pop rock songs, like "We Will Rock You," and stuff.
Yeah.
And these choirs, they're like a social group, but it's also like a ministry outreach. And like 1,000 kids came from all over Europe to this thing. Anyway, I was there in Czech Republic, and I was teaching on songwriting, And anyway, my next trip after that was like to Austria, and I had this divine encounter, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I was supposed to go back to school and get my doctorate. So that was...
I'm very encouraged by this youth movement because you sound like there is a huge youth following.
In parts of the world, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The world has changed a whole lot in the last year because of the pandemic and COVID and all that kind of thing. So, the way people socialize, of course, has been radically changed.
Right.
But hey, man, I still have hope and I still see good things. So I look for the good, and just amplify it.
There you go. There's a friend of mine who I start my day every day with LinkedIn because this friend of mine always posts some beautiful story about somebody who stepped out of their comfort zone just to be kind and do something. And it's very encouraging. It's a nice way to start the day.
Yeah.
Where I used to start with the news. I don't do that anymore.
It's so, a morning routine is so important because it starts your day where you want it to go. Because what's going on in the world, I mean, we need to be aware of it, but ultimately it's like you need to be on your own path, and so you need to set your rudder in your direction, and not be pulled to the left or the right by your perception of what's going on in the world. Most of us can't do hardly anything about it anyway.
True.
But
you used to see me at your morning sessions, my time, 9 o'clock. So I just want to say to everybody, Rob is still doing it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
8 o'clock Nashville time. So
that's exactly right. Yeah. Well, it's so funny. I wasn't even thinking about that, but you're so right. Yeah. Start your day off right. I do a morning devotional program.
I went to several of them, and you'll see me again. I strayed. But I'll come back to the.
Well, it was always there, I'm trying, and you know what? That's because of that Amplify group you were talking about. Because I got on one of the hot seats or something, and I said, I know I'm supposed to live stream, but I was like, I can't. What do I do? And Cheryl was like, why don't you just do it? And I'm like, okay. And then I've been doing it ever since then.
I didn't know that. I thought you were always doing it. That's great.
No, I started it because she called me out on the Amplify call, and.
Well, okay. When the reason I brought you on was because you sent a song that you wrote for Father's Day called "The Measure of a Man," and it's a great video, which you can find on YouTube. When this concert gets posted on YouTube, the information will be there. But also, just go to Rob Still. I think I have your stuff right here because. Being a school teacher, Rob, we're always prepared. There you go.
Boom. Look at that. Yeah.
If you go to Rob Still Music, you'll find out more information about this. Is a really beautiful, lovely song, and I thought it would be perfect for this show. So how do you feel about doing it for us?
I'd love to. So this song called, let me tell you a little bit about the backstory, maybe. I see, hi, Justine. Hi, Susan. So I see some amplifiers here. So that's so cool.
Yeah.
So some of you guys know, not everybody, of course. I lost my father this past March, and for those of us who are older, and I know that's part of your market also. I mean, this is part of the season of life that we're in, and my dad also had a debilitating illness, and so he was on a decline for several years. And my mom, was very strong in taking care of him. And then my brother actually, took a leave of absence from his job to help take care of Dad. Mm-hmm. And so I actually wrote a song and when I write these songs, it's like to honor, them, honor their legacy, and honor what their lives, what his life meant. And so anyway, year before last, in 2019, my father-in-law, my wife's dad, had passed away. And as we were driving from Nashville to Delaware, I was just, thinking about his life. And he had been bedridden for a long time. And just thinking about the legacy of his life. And he, and both, my dad and my father-in-law, both, they were good men. They were really good men. They loved their families well, and they were very different, and very different styles, very different personalities, and very different ways of showing love, and communication and all that, right? My father-in-law, he was a tough old farmer, rural dude, and not a dude, but you wouldn't call him that. You would never call him a dude. But anyway, that's the way I talk. But anyway, as we were driving up, I was just, reflecting on just, his grandkids loved him. His kids loved him. And he had grown up as a farmer. They lived in the rural part of Sussex County. They were as country can be, man. And I was thinking, and I knew that it would probably, because this has kind of happened now with our family, we usually end up singing at the funeral, my wife and I. We did for her mother. Yeah. And one of the things about my father-in-law that was really memorable is that he was a caregiver for my mother-in-law, who had passed away several years ago. She had a disease called Huntington's disease, which, if you know anything about that, is very long-term, and it's really, really difficult to care for. And he was a stubborn guy, and he insisted that he was going to care for her. And he kept her home. He didn't put her in a residence or anything like that. And I learned a lot from him from that. And one of the lines in the song is, a promise you make is a promise you keep. That's how you live when that's what you believe. And so how about, without any further ado, I think the words of the songs, speak to themselves. One thing I will say, I definitely, was trying to write this as a country song. And although every single line in this song is biographical, I mean, it's true about his story. He was the son of a farmer. He did have really rough hands. But I wanted the idea to be universal. Like, even though it's his song, it's everybody's song. That's what I was trying to do as a songwriter, Right.
Well, here we're all ready. I'm going to give you the stage right now.
The son of a farmer, hands strong and rough from hard labor, on the outside a little gruff, more than a little tough, but inside a heart pure and tender. When he gave his word, you could count on it. Nothing stopped him when he put his mind to it. But the measure of a man is more than what he says. His actions speak louder than words. And a promise you make, that's a promise you keep. And that's how you live when that's what you believe. So stand up and do right, the best that you can, and the love that you leave, well, that's the measure of a man. That's the measure of a man. Well, there's there's nothing more important than family. These words are his lasting legacy, and what he worked hard to provide was more than money could ever buy. This is how you love selflessly, and a promise you make, well, that's a promise you keep. And that's how you live when that's what you believe. So stand up and do right, the best that you can, and the love that you leave, that's the measure of a man. And a promise you make, well, that's a promise you keep. And that's how you live when that's what you believe. So stand up and do right, the best that you can, and the love that you leave, that's the measure of a man. That's the measure of a man. The love that you leave, that's the measure of a man. Oh, the love that you leave, that's the measure of a man.
That's such a moving song, and it is universal. It really is. You know, and that's the kind of teaching that that our folks passed on. We were talking before. I just want to say hey to everybody for staying. And by the way, they're loving this. Justine,
Thank you.
yeah, Justine and Allison, a good friend of mine, and Pam.
Thank you.
This is really, I'm enjoying this myself. So the kind of teaching that we got from our parents
Yeah.
was very basic. It was just having integrity. If you got a job, do it the best that you can.
Exactly.
It was very, very simple.
Can you turn your volume up a little bit? It's a little hard to hear you or something.
Oh yeah, I turned
There
my
you go.
volume down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I sometimes have some kind of a loop that happens, so I turn the volume off.
Right.
And then I think, well, I'm hearing me, so what else? And I know what I sound like. So,
Right.
yeah. But
You were talking about those values. Can you say that again? Yeah, because that's really important.
Well, I was just talking about the values that
Yeah.
were passed on to us,
Right.
and keeping your word, showing up on time, having integrity. If you're going to do a job, do the best that you can, no matter what the job. And that always stayed with me. You know.
Yeah.
My dad. I remember when my mom had passed away. My dad was a little floundering, and I took him to school with me for career day. And we had prepared this whole thing. He was an accountant, and so we did this whole thing. I worked in inner city, so this whole thing about sports stars and rappers and all these that were having problems with their taxes and the IRS. We had this whole presentation, and I left him alone, right? My dad was a bit long-winded and not the most exciting speaker. I left him alone in the 6th grade. I walked by the room, and these kids wouldn't let him leave. He wasn't talking about the taxes. They started asking him about his life when he was their age.
Yeah.
And he started telling them, well, I lost my dad young. I was in the hospital. I came out. It was the Depression. I had a 25-mile bike route. He and his friend found a Model A. His family, his mother and 3 sisters lived on a farm. A Model A car. They put a big saw on the end, and they drove that car around the perimeter of the farm, cutting down trees, going back and forth with the Model A, cutting it up, tying up cords of wood, selling the cords of wood. And then when the clutch was shot, they would rev up the car as fast as they could and drive it towards a tree, and whoever jumped out last was the chicken, you know. So
What?
these kids are like looking at my father like, you were driving at 10 years old? And my father was just remembering, and he said, and I took my whole family to the movies on a Saturday for $1. We all got in, we all had a bag of popcorn, and we saw a double feature. And that's just one of my favorite stories, because it just really explains to me, when I was impatient with him because I was doing my thing as a musician, you know,
Yeah.
I understood then as I got older, how could he understand that I'm like, no, I'm cashing in my pension right now. I'm buying a PA. What? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? But I totally get it. I totally get it. Fortunately, we came around and we got along very well in the end. But it was this for a while, you know. But I came to understand and respect him, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we all have different stories, you know, of our relationships. You know, since Father's Day, I mean, I know a lot of people have very difficult relationships with their father, and
Yeah.
I mean, I was blessed. I had a great dad. I was blessed. I had a good father-in-law. And so when you know, the Bible says, give honor where honor is due. And for those who've been, you know, grew up in dysfunctional families or wounded and hurt, is I just pray healing for you. You know, no, there's a good heavenly Father.
Yeah. Like I said, I taught inner city, and many times it was the Baptist church was the foundation of the spiritual center. Because sometimes the families just weren't that structured. But that's a whole nother conversation there.
Yeah.
And listen, I want to thank you for coming on and singing us that wonderful song.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful.
Thanks for having me. And invite anybody to come to my live stream, 8 a.m. Central Time, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm on YouTube, Rob Still. Rob, just you've got it right there.
Yeah.
And yeah, get on my email list. That'd be great.
Yes, it's a nice way to start the day.
Yeah.
I'll see you. I will see you. You know that. So be
Okay,
well.
thank
And
you.
I know you're going to take some trips, and be safe, be well, and thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
God
Bye,
bless.
Rob.
Thanks, Charmin. Okay, see ya. Bye.
Well, guys, that was a long interview, but I was just really interested in his story and his journey. You know, he going from a successful career in commercials. All of my musician friends, you know, that's really good money to be making in the commercial field, and to respond to the calling and change your life, and maybe not make such lucrative money, but feel the satisfaction. So, hi, Margot, how you doing? Yeah, I forgot to turn it up again when he was singing. I turned my sound down and then up. So I got one more song. This is a little bit longer, and this is a song in the same vein. I wrote this song for my brother, and I'll tell you, my father was never that impressed that I had co-written a song for Sinatra, but this song he kept in the car, and every time someone would come to the house, he would make them go to the car and listen to this song, because it was for my brother, and he felt that I captured my brother. If I can see the sunshine when skies are filled with rain, and smile through disappointment to masquerade my pain, if I have helped a single soul find reason to believe, then I'll know that I have lived. And if I can see the beauty where others see despair, and walk with pride and courage, put my faith in prayer, if I have really loved someone, and gave all I could give, then I'll know that I have lived. And sometimes I question my existence, and sometimes the cost of peace don't make no sense. When the day-to-day don't balance out, I turn to Jesus and shout, please, Lord, help me find my way. And sometimes I question my existence, and sometimes the cost of peace don't make no sense. When the day-to-day don't balance out, I turn to Jesus and shout, please, Lord, help me find my way. If I can live with purpose and bear no one no grudge, and if I turn away from critics and abusers, let God be my judge. If someone has hurt me, yet still I can forgive, then I'll know that I have lived. And when I'm gone, just think of me and smile instead of grieve. Then I'll know that I have lived. To live a life of purpose. That's what we're all trying to do. All right, so listen, I'll let you know when I'm coming back, but I'm going to take some time off and figure out what's next and see if I can get back into my music and start to write some new music. But thank you all for coming. Rob, Justine, Susan, Ellen, my dear sister Margot. Who am I missing up there? Allison, all the way from Canada. Lots of Canadians. I am meeting a lot of Canadians lately. And Frank. Hey, Frank. Thank you all. Ellen, thank you all. Be well. Stay well. Keep in touch. And thank you so much. Happy blooming. Bye-bye.